NoDQ Galaxy. We are live with the NoDQ.com live recap of Friday, 2022. A newsworthy show to say the least. Shout out to everybody for tuning in, whether it's live or on demand. Either way, I very much appreciate your viewership and support. Now, with that being said, let's get right into the recap. We kicked off Smackdown with an in-ring promo from the Bloodline. Very big night here. Of course, the tag team title unification match in the main event. Roman Reigns said that the people should acknowledge him, the Usos, and the Bloodline. And then he turned it over to Paul Heyman. Heyman talked about how Roman Reigns is the greatest of all time. It's the biggest night in the history of tag team wrestling. Can the Usos do what the Wild Samoans failed to do? And that's unify the tag team titles. Well, I'm pretty sure there was no brand extension back in the day, but whatever, Paul. Anyways, Paul said it was not a prediction. It was, in fact, a spoiler. He said that Roman Reigns expects the Usos to deliver what he wants. And Roman Reigns, to finish this segment off, said that he has high expectations because he loves them. And he gave them a hug. Basically, the idea here was that if the Usos lost, there would be no more Bloodline. And they had to win this match to remain on the island of relevancy. That was the storyline leading up to the main event. Good promo here. And the fact that so much time was dedicated to this segment, it made me think we were actually going to get a real finish and not a DQ or a no contest or something like that. But we will get to that later. That was, in fact, the main event. We had our first match of the evening, Shinsuke Nakamura versus Sami Zayn. Nakamura had the early momentum, but Sami Zayn was able to get the upper hand. And Zayn ended up being crotched on the top rope. Zayn, however, avoided the Kinshasa and dumped Nakamura over the top rope. Eventually, Nakamura made his comeback. He came off the top rope with a kick to the back of the head, but Zayn was able to kick out. Zayn then retreated to the outside, the vintage Sami Zayn tactic of trying to escape. Nakamura went after him, but then got hit with a Michinoku driver on the outside. Crowd was booing this heavily because Zayn was attempting to win once again by countout. However, Shin did beat the 10 count. People started chanting Rusty at Sami Zayn, so I guess that's catching on now. They ended up back on the outside of the ring. Zayn was sent into the ring post, and then he was sent over the barricade. However, he did beat the 10 count. He got back in. However, he was quickly met with the Kinshasa. 1, 2, 3. Shinsuke Nakamura picked up the victory. Good match here. I enjoyed it. Nakamura won, got his payback. Now, does Nakamura get an opportunity at Roman Reigns? As Reigns and the Bloodline were leaving in the opening segment, Nakamura came down to the ring and had a little stare down with Roman. So there is some unfinished business there, and I hope Nakamura does get a match. I really hope so. We had a video package with the Usos hyping up the main event. Again, so much time being dedicated to this. I was feeling pretty confident that we would be seeing an actual finish in the main event. Moving on here, we had we had Happy Talk with Happy Corbin. And believe it or not, I actually thought this was a good segment. I thought this was the best Corbin promo in quite some time. He was very happy, but not showing it. He had a more serious demeanor when he was cutting his promo. He had the Dre trophy, the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal trophy, and said that he's the happiest he's ever been because he rid the WWE of that mouth-breathing moron, Madcap Moss, and then showed footage of what he did when he wrapped the steel chair around Moss's neck and slammed the trophy into the chair. He had the footage shown several times, said he got fined for what he did, but you cannot put a price on art. And then he had a very interesting line, actually a couple of interesting lines, possibly referencing Sasha Banks. He said, and I quote, "You should show your boss total respect. You should never try to improve your station in life." And then later, he had another line. He said that Madcap Moss was eating Wagyu beef and him, Corbin, was paying for it all. And Corbin said, and I quote, "Now, if Madcap Moss wants to eat steak, his nurse will have to chew it for him first." Now, that was possibly a reference to Sasha Banks on the Broken Skull Sessions interview with Steve Austin. She talked about how she was no longer eating pizza. She was eating steak, just like Vince McMahon. Coincidence that Corbin was referencing steak and showing your boss respect, total respect? Very interesting. And then he finished off his promo about Moss saying, "Who's laughing now?" Moss called him the big bald wolf, but that big bald wolf huffed and puffed and put Madcap Moss in an ambulance. I wonder if that's a tease for an ambulance match at some point. Stay tuned. And then finally, to wrap this whole thing up, Corbin destroyed the Dre trophy completely and then held up the little Andre statue. I liked the segment. First good Happy Corbin segment in quite some time. Actually, I liked last week. I liked the angle they did with Madcap Moss, and I'm hoping that Moss will be back with a more serious attitude, no more suspenders. And I'm all for an ambulance match if we get a more serious tone to this feud from both guys. I do not think the Dre is going to be gone, though. I feel like it will be back next year. Although there was a funny line. Michael Cole, I believe maybe it was Pat, but I'm feeling like it was Cole, saying that there have been so many WWE careers launched from winning the Andre Battle Royal. Not so sure about that. Cesaro, no. Big Show, no. Corbin, maybe, but he was already kind of established by the time he won the Dre. Who else won that damn thing? I'm forgetting now who else won the Andre Battle Royal. Oh, Matt Hardy? Matt Hardy won it, right? Yeah. Really? Anyways, kind of a ridiculous line. Apparently it was Michael Cole. I figured. I would think that Pat McAfee would know better. Oh, Mojo Rawley? Yeah. So next up we had Gunther up against Drew Gulak, rematch from last week, and Jey Uso won it too. All right. But he was already kind of, established. Gulak got a tiny bit of offense, avoided a chop from Gunther, hit his own chop, but all that did was just piss Gunther off. Gunther hit him with the big boot, several chops, and then quickly finished him off with a power bomb, and then continued his attack after the match, put him in a Boston Crab, and then Ricochet ran down to help out his buddy, and Gunther decided to leave. He'll fight another day, take care of Ricochet, and maybe we get Gunther as the Intercontinental Champion. Maybe we can finally make that title mean something by putting it on a guy that has just a little bit of credibility at this stage of the game. And I hate to say that about Ricochet, but come on now, guys. Like, Ricochet is beyond, I think, any kind of repair to his character at this stage of the game. Backstage, we had LA Knight making his official Smackdown debut, and he met up with Adam Pearce. He has a new name. He is now known as Max Dupri. No relation to Rene Dupree, different spelling also. And he represents the Maximum Male Models. We don't know who these models are, although during recent dark match segments, LA Knight was managing Mace as well as Mansoor. I suppose we'll see those guys join the faction at some point. Anyways, Dupree wants to have a superstar that can be part of Paris Fashion Week and be part of WrestleMania. Adam Pearce was not on board with this, says Sonya Deville brought him in, but she's gone now, and he doesn't think this whole thing is a good idea. However, Dupree revealed that he already has a signed contract, so Adam Pearce is effed in the A. He has to deal with it, and I guess we'll see if LA Knight can take chicken shit and turn it into chicken salad. Time will tell. But yeah, Max Dupri is his new name. We had a promo from RK Bro. Pretty basic stuff here. RK Bro 420, going to smoke the Usos' ass. They're going to run into the 3 most dangerous letters, blah, blah, blah. Pat McAfee said that they are extremely high on themselves. I see what you did there, Pat McAfee. We had Shotzi Blackheart backstage arguing with Aaliyah. Shotzi said Aaliyah could never beat Ronda Rousey, and Shotzi approached Raquel Gonzalez, who was standing right there, and Shotzi said that Raquel stole her match. She's nothing but 6 feet of disappointment, and that led to a match, Raquel Gonzalez versus Shotzi Blackheart. And several SmackDown superstars were watching in the back. Pretty much a showcase match for Raquel. Shotzi is officially enhancement talent and probably not long for WWE. Shotzi got a little bit of offense, but not much. Came off the top, got caught with a fallaway slam by Raquel. Raquel hit a second one and then hit the choke slam power bomb to pick up the victory. No Ronda Rousey on this show, by the way. I guess with no opponent for Hell in a Cell, there's nothing going on. We have like 2 matches for Hell in a Cell. I mean, how am I even going to do predictions? We're going to do a live stream. 2 matches, everybody. Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins and Asuka versus Bianca Belair. We got nothing else for this pay-per-view coming up in just over a week in Chicago, of all places. Like, you would think that they would put some effort into this show, but I guess it's not a stadium, so no go for Chicago as far as a full card goes. We had Xavier Woods, who hasn't been a king for a while. He no longer has that cool music he was using. He wanted a one-on-one match against Butch, even though he beat Butch twice over the past couple months with the backwoods. He wanted a 3rd match and no outside interference from the Brawling Brutes. That's the new name of the faction with Sheamus, Ridge Holland, and Butch. I just like Butch, Bitch, and Botch. That should be the name of the faction, in my opinion. We had a one-on-one match, Butch versus Xavier Woods. Butch was doing his frantic offense in the early moments, doing the joint manipulation, slapped Xavier. That got him all fired up. And Butch eventually regained control, pounded at the back of the head, and almost got DQ'd. The referee had to have words with Butch, but then that brief moment where Butch was not focused on his opponent, Woods took advantage. Woods with the backwoods beat Butch for the third time in like 2 months. Why does it feel like they've had more matches than 3? Like, I feel like we keep seeing the same matches with the same 3 or 4 people every single week. After the match was over, Xavier was up by the stage, and that's when Sheamus and Ridge Holland showed up. Butch came in with a sneak attack. Afterwards, Xavier was interviewed backstage, and he said that Kofi will be back next week. And Xavier said he has a third person for a 6-man tag team match, somebody that Bitch, Butch, and Botch are not going to like. All right, then. They should just do that for Hell in a Cell at this point. Like, we need some matches on the card, right? It's just been going on forever. They need to wrap this one up. Seriously. Then we had Michael Cole making an announcement regarding Naomi and Sasha Banks. You can check out the video over on NoDQ.com. This was in regards to Naomi and Sasha walking out on WWE this past Monday night, leaving the tag team titles in the office of John Laurinaitis. Michael Cole said that Sasha and Naomi, and this is a quote from him, let us all down. Michael Cole said that their actions disappointed millions of WWE fans. And because of what they did, Sasha Banks and Naomi have been suspended indefinitely. They are gone for the time being. This is not a work. Their merchandise is no longer on WWE's website. And then, this is an interesting one. Michael Cole said that there will be a tournament to crown new women's tag team champions. Let's see, you got two tag teams. You got Natalya and Shayna Baszler, and then you got Doudrop and Nikki Ash on Raw. Seriously, 2 teams. What are they going to do? Just make a bunch of makeshift tag teams? Bring in some tag teams from NXT? Like, can they even put together 8 tag teams to have a tag team title tournament? I guess you could have a tag team tournament with 4 teams. I mean, it's going to be a pretty small tournament. Seriously, why are they even bothering? You might as well just get rid of the women's tag team titles. There's no point. So yeah, Sasha and Naomi are suspended. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for any further updates regarding this ongoing story. We then had our main event of the evening. We had the unified tag team titles match, the Raw champs RK Bro versus the Smackdown tag team champions, the Usos. You had Paul Heyman out there on commentary for this match. Now, it appeared like Riddle may have legitimately been hurt early on in the match, a very awkward moment. He was thrown into the corner. He took a pretty nasty bump coming out of the corner. And then about 20, 30 seconds later, the referee held up the X and we went to a commercial break. When we came back, it appeared Riddle was fine. The match was continuing. The Usos were working him over. Michael Cole on commentary said that according to the doctor, Riddle had a bruised hip, but the match continued and he seemed fine. Match went on pretty much as you would expect it to go. And eventually Riddle tagged out to Randy Orton. Orton did all the signature moves. And he hit the RKO on Jimmy, but Jay was able to make the save. And things broke down. Riddle tagged back in. Riddle was going for a super RKO on Jay, but that's when Paul Heyman distracted the referee and Roman Reigns interfered, grabbing Riddle, and that allowed Jay to take down Riddle. He came off the top with the frog splash. 1, 2, 3. The Usos are the brand new WWE Unified Tag Team Champions. WWE actually went through with it. We had a finish, new champs. The titles are unified. All right. I'm surprised, guys. I seriously thought they were going to do some kind of screwy finish. Well, I mean, it was interference, but I thought they were going to do like a DQ or some kind of no contest where there was no unification of the titles, but they did it. All right. Why they did not save this for Hell in a Cell, I don't know. Maybe they just wanted to pop a number for Fox. It is what it is. Usos are now 8-time tag team champions, and we had a pretty brutal post-match beatdown. The Bloodline beat the crap out of Riddle and Orton post-match. Riddle was laid out on the announce table, and Jey Uso came off the top rope with a frog splash to Riddle through the announce table. Bloodline getting a ton of heat. They held up all the championships, I should say. Hell of an ending here to the show. Bloodline completely dominant. And now you could potentially set up Riddle and Randy Orton as challengers for Roman Reigns and the unified WWE Championship. That is a rumor that Riddle will face Roman Reigns at Money in the Bank, and then at SummerSlam, Randy Orton will go after Roman, which I'm totally cool with because Randy has been getting these great reactions, and based off of their interactions like at WrestleMania Backlash, it seems like a fitting thing to do. Jose says maybe at Hell in a Cell we get a rematch. Yeah, that's certainly a possibility. Seems like a pretty solid layout, although I was thinking Cody Rhodes would get an opportunity at Roman Reigns. Maybe Roman will have to defend both titles on one night. I'm not sure what they're going to do, if they're going to just keep the title unified for the time being, and thus Cody Rhodes is not going to be in the mix. I don't know, but I am intrigued about a Randy Orton versus Roman Reigns match. And hell, even though he's not going to win, a Riddle match versus Reigns would be pretty good. I know Roman is working a lighter schedule, but what about Shinsuke Nakamura versus Roman Reigns at Backlash? I know it's kind of short build, although it's been teased over the past several weeks. Like, that would be a hot match for Chicago. Roman Reigns versus Nakamura for the title. Give Roman something to do and just let that match happen. We haven't seen it yet for the title. And you need something for this damn Hell in a Cell card, really. And yeah, I like the idea of Randy Orton as a babyface versus heel Roman Reigns. It's absolutely something different that we haven't seen yet. I'm all for it. SummerSlam, I mean, that's a pretty big main event. So that was Smackdown, everybody. Very good show this week. I enjoyed it. Solid. Main event was awesome. Loved the post-match beatdown. And I liked Corbin's segment. I mean, everything was pretty good on this show. I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens with LA Knight / Max Dupri. I liked the Gunther stuff. Nakamura, Sami Zayn was a very good match. I'm going to go A- for Smackdown. Like they delivered with the main event. I was convinced we were not going to have a title unification, but they did deliver on that. Main event was really strong. So hell, I'm giving it an A-. SmackDown, definitely worth checking out this week. Absolute recommend. Might even go as far to say must watch, at least the main event. So that was my thoughts on SmackDown this week. NoDQ.com will keep you updated on all the latest breaking news. Dustin sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you, Dustin. Says, the Bellas come back and become the new tag team champions. I would be fine with that. I would not have a problem with the Bellas returning. I think this would be a good opportunity, but of course, is Nikki able to do more matches? She did come back for the Rumble, but that was, of course, a one-off. How about Trish Stratus and Lita? Like, unfortunately, you have to bring back some names from the past, I think, to have a full tournament, but I mean, that would, I think, get people interested in the tournament. If you brought in the Bellas and you brought in Trish Stratus and Lita, maybe one more tag team from the past. What about Laycool? Like, you could do it. Yes, it would be resorting to past names, but I think if they brought in some past names, a few teams from NXT, and then the 2 teams they currently have, they could have 8 teams for the women's tournament, and people might care about it. That's all I got for tonight, everybody. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Again, NoDQ.com will keep you updated with the latest happenings. Have a great weekend, everybody. And that's it. Thank you all. And remember, say yes to NoDQ.com. See you guys next time.